All right, everybody, welcome. 00 Start Podcast number 24. Today, we got an exciting one. We are going to go through the top 5 states in all of the United States to play pickleball or to visit or to vacation and bring your pickleball paddles. And that's a tough list to compile because the fastest growing sport in America is exploding in every state. And there's 50 really, really good ones to play pickleball in. So before we get into the official list, and this is an unofficial official list, this was our rankings on just how many courts there are, the growth of the sport in that state, and how many pro tournaments they've hosted beyond some and a few other aspects of the state that we kind of compiled in our top 5 rankings. Before we get there, we're going to do our honorable mentions. And now we obviously understand that these ones are not in the top 5. But they are honorable mentions. So if you're going to that state, you'll definitely want to bring your pickleball paddles. Jason, we'll start with you because you have an obvious one. It's close to your heart. You're sitting in the state right now. But beyond all those biased reasons, it actually is a pretty cool state for pickleball. So I'll let you kick this thing off with your honorable mention.
Yeah, absolutely. So my honorable mention is the beautiful state of Missouri. The home of Just Paddles. So of course it has to be included in this list somewhere. But another good reason for Missouri is it's the home of the first Chicken and Pickle, the location in North Kansas City, which started the revolution of really all these incredible pickleball locations that are pickleball facilities and bars and restaurants all together. So that's on the list. You got Springfield, Missouri, that has Drury University, which they actually just announced that they're going to be putting in a huge pickleball complex at that school, which is great news because I think that's going to be something that continues with universities all over the country. You got Branson, Missouri. They have plans of adding even more courts there, which Branson's a terrific tourist destination for those of you that are not familiar with the state of Missouri. Obviously, you got St. Louis as well, which a Chicken and Pickle will be going there in the future as well. But a lot of great court locations in Missouri. That is why it is on my honorable mention.
And you didn't mention the Overland Park Chicken and Pickle in Missouri.
Well, technically that's on the Kansas side, man.
I did that on purpose just to get a reaction out of you. I was trying for a viral moment and you handled that very well. All right, Kyle, what you got? Kyle, you've kind of toured a little bit, playing a lot of tournaments in a lot of different places. So you've seen different states, what they have to offer in the pickleball space. What's your honorable mention?
Yeah, so I've been playing in a few tournaments this year, and I played one in February. This is a state you wouldn't think you would have on the list, but I'm gonna the Great Lakes of Minnesota. I was really impressed when I went up to the PPA Indoor National Championships up in February, and was really impressed with. I went up there in the middle of a snowstorm in late February, and these Minnesotians really showed out, and they came and played, and there was a ton of them. And I mean, there was a lot of people that showed up. I think they've got a lot of good facilities, outdoor facilities and indoor facilities. There's a place called Lucky Shots up there that I've heard about. And I guess I've talked to some people I played against up there, and they said the place is always packed, kind of remind me of a Chicken and Pickle. I think there's just a lot of people playing up there, and I was really impressed with how they showed up. And yeah, it was shout out Minnesota. They got a lot of good cities up there, so they made a lasting memory on me. So
Minnesota was the home of the U.S. Open of racquetball for many, many years. And it's one of those places too, where like in the winter, you said you went up there in February, beautiful place, February, nothing better than Minnesota in February, but everybody is still healthy and active, right? It's a really active city. So they're looking for things to do. So now we're playing a lot of indoor pickleball. So I bet it's, even through the winter, Minnesota is a pretty cool place to play. The fact that none of the three of us have picked Hawaii as an honorable mention is probably sick because it's quite possibly the most beautiful place on earth. But my mention is going to be my home state, which is not shocking again, but also true and unbiased. It's a great place. So I'm picking Georgia as my mention. It not only has weather that you can play 360 days a year, I'll give you 5 where you might want to stay inside, But it also has Alta, which is one of the biggest tennis communities in the nation. So it's one of the biggest tennis leagues in the nation. So every year, a few people drop off that list and hop on the pickleball list to join our sport. There's a ton of good players out here. The weather's great. Atlanta's a great city. Beyond that, what happens in the communities out here is they build a lot of tennis courts in the communities, right? Almost everybody has a pool, tennis court kind of community in their neighborhood. Well, those tennis courts are now being turned into pickleball courts. So a lot of my friends here who would have never played at a public park are playing because they have pickleball courts literally in their neighborhood that everybody's playing with. So regardless if they use it as a drinking game or not, they're going to become pickleball addicts, true pickleball addicts one day. So shout out Georgia. So we got a list of Missouri, we got a list of Minnesota, we got a list of Georgia, 3 places you got to hit before this official list starts. But this official list is heavy hitters. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Number 5. Now, again, nobody take offense. This is unofficial Just Paddles rankings, but there was some research that went into it to show that these are powerhouse states in pickleball. California rolling in as number 5 for no other reasons than 100 probably, but the 2 biggest ones is population and then obviously climate, where they can play all year long. They got beaches, pickleball courts next to beaches. You got pickleball courts in the city of Los Angeles. You got all up along the coast. In Santa Barbara, there's pickleball courts, and north up in San Francisco, there's pickleball courts, down into San Diego where you can play every day of the year. So California is obviously going to be a top 5 and it continue to push up the list, I'm assuming, because once this thing catches fire in California, it's not going to stop. They have endless tennis courts that they could convert and weather that can match anybody's in the country. So now I'm going to go through the list. But before we go through 4, 3, 2, and 1, I want to hear one place that you'd want to play in the state of California.
Yeah. So I have to personally go with where the Nationals were up until this year.
Ooh, I like this.
I have to go Indian Wells, California. That complex is legit. And another plus side is just you can golf cart all around that city.
That's fun.
That's beautiful because who doesn't love to be on a golf cart?
And that's so Palm Springs, California, and they did it in November-ish, is like absolutely beautiful. It's kind of deserty, but it's still like in the mid 70s and it's dry. So it's just like as good as it gets. That's a great, great place. Kyle, where are you going in California?
Yeah, I'm still a little bummed they're not going to Nationals at Indian Wells this year. I was looking forward to that. But I'm going to go. I've never really been to the LA area. I was thinking Newport Beach for a tournament. Just kind of explore around there and see what it's all about. I think heard there's really good competition out there. So I will go with Newport Beach.
Yeah, California never disappoints in any type of athletic experience. And I'm sure they have a ton of awesome players. I'm going a smaller city, but just right by the coast. Absolutely beautiful. It's going to be as good of a tourist spot as you can get. And then high quality pickleball near the water, Santa Barbara, California. It's going to be hard to beat that place. It's got like that old school hometown vibe with perfect weather. It's like a t-shirt while you play and then a sweatshirt at night. It's bringing me back, but that's a good place to play.
Excellent choice.
Ideal. Yep.
All right, Jason, I'm going to pass it off to number 4, which we just talked about the Nationals, and Kyle was sad that it's not in California, but it is here. So I'll let you go to it.
Yeah. So number 4, the gigantic state of Texas. And Texas is another place that, warm weather basically all year round, can basically play 365, tons of courts. There's currently 3 chicken and pickle locations there. You got the giant city of Dallas, you got Houston, you got San Antonio. There's courts popping up everywhere there. And again, just a beautiful place to play almost year round. Now, some of those days going to be a little hot, but there's definitely indoor and covered courts there as well, which is very smart for those those places that have put some roofs on some of those courts.
Yeah, Chicken and Pickles in Grapevine and Grand Prairie and San Antonio. So if you need indoor courts, it's a good place to.
I think they're going to Allen too, Allen, Texas as well.
Yeah, I mean, if there's 4 Chicken and Pickles in that state, you know that thing is booming, the population's rising. So if you could play in one place in Texas, Kyle, we'll start with you this time. Where are you going?
I think I've heard of this place. I think they had the Texas Open down there in Rockwall, Texas. I think Oasis Pickleball Club is what it's called. Heard it's a massive facility. Like you said, good weather all the time, pretty much. I'm gonna go. I think it's a suburb of Dallas, like I said, but I'm gonna check that out.
That's an excellent choice because that's where our friends of the WPT, their nationals, are in Rockwell, Texas.
Yeah,
which I will be playing in that tournament. So if you're out there, find me.
You'll have to let me know how it goes.
Look at this stash and come find it.
I don't think that'll be around at that time.
Then we all thank you for that. Jason, are you mirroring Kyle's choice, or are you going to pick a different place?
I will pick a different place. I will pick just San Antonio. That's an incredible city. The Riverwalk is gorgeous. So San Antonio, that's my pick. I think that's an incredible city. So yeah.
All right, I'm going probably a little vanilla, and it is what it is, but I'm going, and I'm actually wearing the colors of the team that I'm going to see after I play there. And I might upset some people with this one because it's polarizing. It's America's team, but they're also very hated as well. And I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I'm going to go Dallas. I'm going to battle pickleball until perhaps maybe 3 o'clock, and then I'm going to go catch a 4:25 Cowboys game in the $1 billion stadium. It's going to be hard to pass on that one. So I'm going to go Dallas as mine.
Could you imagine if they set up pickleball courts inside of Jerry World at some point? I mean, how awesome would that be?
I tell you what, I would say that's probably not in the near future, but I don't think it's too far out of reach for at some point the Nationals or a huge, PPA or MLP event being in Jerry's World, so to speak.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, Kyle, we're moving on to the top 3, the podium, the third spot on the podium. Who do you got?
So number 3, the great state of Utah. Beautiful mountains, beautiful skiing, and also home to some great pickleball. They have a lot of notable pros from Utah. Callie Jo Smith, Elise Jones, Tyler Leung, Etta Wright, to name a few. Sorry if I'm leaving anyone out. But I've heard that they have the most courts per capita, maybe. I think everybody goes and plays in Utah. We have a employee that just paddles that actually is from Utah, and I was talking to her about it, and she said, yeah, everybody just gets their grills and their lunch packs and just hangs out on the court all day. So pretty cool. It's a state you wouldn't really think about but pickleball is huge there. So Utah, shout out.
And incredible place to train as a professional, to play the tour at altitude, and then come down to places like, where we live, where it's sea level ish, and then just have the advantage, the air traffic advantage on everybody else.
Yeah, I didn't even mention that. That's a big deal. I played in Colorado a couple months ago, and yeah, it made a difference. So you kind of got to go there a few days early and get ready for it. So,
yeah, so I was just going to say this, Kyle, because I lived in Colorado for like 8 years, and we'd have tournaments in Denver and tournaments all over Colorado, and people would fly in, and they'd fly in a day early, and I'd be like, what are you doing here so early? And they're like, I'm getting used to the altitude. I'm like, bro, you're 3 weeks late. You should have been here a long time ago. All you're doing is going to be tired one more day. All right, so Utah, super cool place to play pickleball. Jason, where's your spot?
I got to go with Park City. It's like incredible city. Obviously great skiing and snowboarding conditions in that location, but to be able to play pickleball there would be just amazing. That'd be like, I'd probably be distracted the whole time playing, just looking at everything around me and the mountains and all that. But that'd be so much fun to play in Park City.
I like it. Kyle, what do you have?
I'm going to go with Provo. I'm going to catch a BYU football or basketball game, and then I'm going to go play in a pickleball tournament. I've always the Red Rock Open in April I've wanted to go to, and then they have the TOC in July or August. And after playing in Colorado, the altitude, I like to say I'm used to the altitude, but we'll see. It's definitely a place I want to go play though.
All right, I'm going to choose a smaller town again because I like that like scenic small town vibe. I'm going Ogden, Utah, which is a city north of Salt Lake City, and it's kind of that gateway to the ski resort. So I'm going to hit some pickleballs for hours, and then I'm going to go burn the rest of my leg energy out up in the mountains. All right, moving on to the list. Number 2, not surprising at all, is the smoldering hot state of Arizona, which you could certainly play 365 days a year. And their problem isn't what most states have the problem with. It's too cold during the winter. This is a state that might be a little bit too hot during the summer. So if you're going to play pickleball in these states, schedule your other activities for either for the middle of the day, because you're not playing pickleball here in the middle of the day. You're playing pickleball at 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 8 to 10 o'clock at night. But it is an incredible community. And it's certainly not like the godfather of of pickleball, the states, but I think it was the one that kind of started this whole like explosion. It seems to be like the first state that really like blew off the lid of pickleball. So Arizona, and it was also I believe it was the first host of, or one of the first hosts of the USA Nationals. I actually went to one of them in 2017, I believe, and it was actually absolutely phenomenal. It was like 38 courts there. You could hear pickleballs from a mile away. It was Jason's golf cart dream come true. There was golf carts just ripping around everywhere. So it was Arizona, and it won't ever leave, especially with the retirement communities there. They're building courts all over in those retirement communities. But beyond that, like we said, like you go to November, you go to Arizona to play, or March, it's just going to be absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
So I'll start this one, and then I'll let you guys finish it and where I would go in Arizona. And I'm sticking with the theme because I don't want to break from this. My mid kind of city feel of Scottsdale, Arizona. That's what I'm doing. We're going to hit 16 different restaurants in a 2-day stay. And we're going to do a little bit of hiking and all this. But again, I'm playing pickleball from 7 o'clock in the morning to 9:30. We're doing some day activities, and I'm going back from 8 to 10 p.m. Scottsdale's my choice.
It's an excellent choice. Yeah. Excellent choice. I will be taking Surprise, Arizona. Not only do you get the Royals spring training, you get a lot of spring training baseball. So that hits that perfect time to be in Arizona in March, when it's just perfect in weather-wise. Tons of courts. Also got, I would almost say one of the godfathers of pickleball, Mr. Steve Wong from Armor Pickleball. They are based out of there, and they do tournaments and all that. Surprise is my pick for the state of Arizona.
I like it. Kyle, what do you have? This was the hardest choice, I think, of any of them, because there's a lot of cool places in Arizona.
I'm thinking of 2 places right now, but like you said, it's hard. But I'm going to go a little northern and get out of the heat and go to Flagstaff, Arizona.
Nice.
So I think the weather's 60s, 70s up there, a little closer to Utah. A lot of beautiful scenery up there. They can probably, crevice some courts in there, the mountains or whatever they have. They kind of got some like Red Rock canyons up there in Flagstaff. Could be some cool scenery. Yeah,
you might. It's a sketchy. You gotta be careful though, because they will get some snow. So if you're traveling in there, make sure it's during one of the months that doesn't happen.
I don't know, snow pickleball, that could be fun.
Well, you picked Minnesota, so you confirmed it. It's fun.
How's the ball bounce in snow?
That's a good question.
How's your foot traction? I couldn't see the lines. The whole court is The whole court is white with
They've,
snow.
they've got this cool facility. I can't remember it in Mesa though, that they play some tournaments at. That would be cool to play at too. I think they have like 40 courts or something like that.
Yeah, Arizona's awesome. And Casa Grande was where we were at for the USA Nationals back in the day, 2016-17. I believe they were the host those 2 years, and it was just super cool. So that was the first tournament I've ever been to. So it'll always hold a place in my heart, but it didn't break into the number one spot. And the number one spot is not a surprise. It's not going to be a shock. So we don't need to build the drama here. So Jason, I'll let you take away the number one spot that we all know is
the state of Florida.
That's right.
And I mean, I think it's undoubtedly number one. You just got so many courts there. There's actually a decent amount of brands of manufacturers that are based out of Florida. Yeah, pickleball is just massive in the state for sure. I mean, you obviously got the villages. They're packed. They're packed all the time too. So yeah, Florida definitely top of the list.
Well, so the latest reading, and this is growing every single day, 1,021 courts in the state of Florida, which is pretty wild to think of. And that, if you look at that stat today, tomorrow is going to be more than that. Or they're building courts, and they're kind of doing the same thing. They're building them in communities and retirement places. So this is certainly a state that you need to visit. And it's going to be a tough choice on which ones you want to visit. What city do you want to visit, Mr. Kyle Goodburn?
So Naples, Florida for me. I've always wanted to play in the US Open. I heard they have a great facility down there. My aunt and uncle live in Naples. So just going down there, probably in February, playing some pickleball, getting some dubs, enjoying the good weather.
US Open, arguably the biggest pickleball tournament out there, I'd say.
Yeah. It's going to be that or
over
nationals.
4,000 participants in the U.S. Open. Over 4,
Unreal.
and it's like a Taylor Swift concert. They like open it up and have to close it in like 6 seconds because so many people sign up for it that they have to cap it and end the registration because they don't have the bandwidth to make it happen, which is incredible. But
yeah, I've had some friends this year that went and they had a great time.
Yeah, so that's exciting. I don't think it's in February. It's in April.
It's in April.
Isn't it? Yeah. So Kyle, if you go there in February, you're going to miss it unless you're planning on staying there for months.
Yeah, they said it was hot and windy, so it was 90 degrees.
But the U.S. Open has those sunshades over the courts, so you shouldn't be getting blasted by the sun when you're there. At least, I don't know if they do it on all the courts, but I know the center courts, they have the shades over them.
Yeah, I'll need to practice up to play on that court. So,
well, if you get there in February, it'll be open. All right, Jason, what do you got?
I am taking the place I'd want to play, Pompano Beach, the home of Diadem. They have a new facility that they built, and they got some courts on their rooftop, which I just think would be really cool. I've never personally played pickleball on a rooftop, and I think that would be just awesome to do. So that is my selection.
I like that. And I'm going to also go with something that kind of like Kyle, where it's like just historic. I needed to do it. I got to go there and play once. I'm going to pick the Villages, Florida, just because it's known as like the Mecca of pickleball, right? And I might drag the average age down a year or two, but it's one of those places everybody that's played pickleball or has heard about the Villages. So it's like going to New York and you have to go see the Statue of Liberty. That's like, if you're a pickleball player, you got to go to the Villages and smack the ball around if they let me in.
Another great community for golf carts.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. This is so 3 of their 5 choices are just, it's overflowing in electric golf carts. Well, that's it. Did any of those that list surprise you at all?
No, not really. I mean, outside Utah, I guess, is a little surprising. I think that surprises a lot of people. I mean, I'm familiar with Utah being a massive place for pickleball, but I feel like most people probably aren't familiar with Utah just because it's a little bit more cold weather than, Arizona, Texas, Florida, in those states. So
what state of outside of the 8 that we mentioned is going to be the next one to explode. And if I know someone's going to take mine, but do you guys have a guess on what state it is?
Kansas.
Obviously. I think New York is going to explode just for
I was going
population
to say the
alone.
Northeast somewhere. I think they're playing a lot up there.
Yeah, New York. Once New York City catches wind of this thing, I don't think they've got it yet. I know there's not as much space, but they have a lot of city parks where you can throw up a net, and I think New York is going to break into the list, and I could see some movement. I think Florida's going to dominate for a while, but between 2 and 15, there could be some movement in there, but we shall see. Let's do this again next year, mid-year, and let's see what has changed.
Yeah. I'm down. Let's do that. New York, I definitely could hit that list next year for sure, especially the New York City Pickleball Club. Those guys are crushing it with how many people they have playing, and not a whole bunch of dedicated courts yet, but I definitely think that's on the way. You see a lot of taped lines and under bridges and that type of thing right now, but they're going to come to. They're going to start getting more dedicated courts for sure.
They've got City Pickle in Central Park that I think it's been going on since the summer.
Yeah, turn that ice rink into the courts. That was really cool. If you haven't seen that, go Google that because that's a really cool setup that they did.
I think Washington was pretty close too. Home of pickleball, Bainbridge Island. Seattle Open is one I want to play in up there just because of the weather, and I think they've got some good players up there in the Pacific Northwest.
Well, we will see. There's our marks next year. Let's see if any of us were right when we discussed the 2024 top 5 states to play pickleball in. But until then, thank you, dudes. It was great chatting with you. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Check you later.